Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Super excited to have everybody join us today. I'm going to wait some moments here to have people just join our call. I see that we're getting attendees coming in. Super exciting. I would love to hear from you all where you're joining us from. I know to all of our Latinos on the call, happy Hispanic Heritage Month. This is our first HQ event that we have right now during our big celebration of the Hispanic Heritage Month. So welcome to our event. And I want to know just in the chat, like, where are you guys joining us from today? We'll have to see. We have people coming in from the Bay Area, from Denver. Awesome. Nice, nice. Also, too, I know that a lot of us too have been going back to school, returning to work. Just if you guys are welcome to add in the chat what has been the highlight of the summer. I know for me, my highlight of summer has been so far has been just spending time with family here in Chicago and finally enjoying of some nice quality summer weather. I know in the past here in Chicago, if anybody here is from the city, we have some very crazy weather. So it's finally nice for a year to finally have just nice sunny weather. We can go to the beach, enjoy of the breeze. Like it's just been a really solid good summer. So definitely that's been my highlight of the summer. But I love all the engagement. So thank you to everybody who is joining in the chat and just adding where you guys are coming in from. Super excited to begin our conversation. I see someone said having the kids go back to school as their highlight. I felt that one, so for sure, I completely understand that one. I don't have kids myself, but I know a lot of my cousins who I babysat this whole summer. I was like, I'm glad that you guys are back in school. I love y'all, but it's nice to have my space again. First pregnancy, congratulations, Jessica. That's amazing. That's a beautiful highlight. Blessing to you and your family for sure. Alrighty, well, we're at a 2:02, so I'm gonna just want to welcome you all to everybody here who is new to our event. My name is Juana Estrada, and I'm a manager here at Latinas in Tech. And today I want to just give a quick shout out to our sponsor of today's event, Being Your Authentic Self, brought to you by SoFi. And as mentioned, just a quick high level of today's event. I'm going to just walk through some just quick notes on who we are as Latinas in Tech, some housekeeping information, and also two information regarded by the SoFi team. But again, if you are new to our network, again, my name is Juana Estrada, and like myself and many members of my team, we are here to provide you guys opportunities to connect with more Latinas like yourself who are working within tech or thinking about breaking into tech. And the way that we do that is we approach this by providing you guys with recruitment opportunities, events like today, where it brings together a presentation, but also to professional development. So for any of you all who are looking to learn how to be part of our network, all you have to do is go onto our website, latinasintech.org, and there you just create a profile, and then you have access to our 22,000 plus women in our network. We have over 20 chapters across the country with over 23 nationalities. So we are all around the world, both here in America, but also globally. So feel free today to go onto our website to learn more about how to become a member and also learn more about events like today that we have on our radar. So quick housekeeping rules for today, just to keep mindful of the conversations and to also interact with our panelists. I ask that you keep all your questions in the Q&A for our panelists, but if you have any comments you want to make throughout the conversation, use the chat for that. I highly encourage you guys to add information regarding your LinkedIn, or if you want to share any awesome news about your experience this summer, please use the chat for that. But also too, if you have questions for our panel, reserve that to the Q&A function. We'll have some time today also too after our conversation to go through those questions and have a conversation with you guys directly. But with that, I would like to now turn the mic to our SoFi team.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ana Recio, and I lead talent at SoFi. And I just want to start off by saying how excited I am that SoFi is partnering with Latinas in Tech. As a Latina myself, and of course you know that because I'm talking with my hands already, you already got the feel for the way I am. I feel deeply connected to the mission of Latinas in Tech, because it's a lot like ours. Is we want to increase diversity, you want to increase Latinas in technology, and this partnership is very symbiotic for SoFi, as we want to make sure that we're sustaining an inclusive workplace. We also want more than our fair share of representation. Part of what makes SoFi such an awesome place is that one of our core values is embrace diversity. We truly believe that a diverse workforce enables us to collaborate, enables us to create. It ultimately just makes us better. And it makes us better at what it is that we're trying to do on our mission. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we do in just 10 seconds, but I just want to kind of give you a high level. Is our goal is to help people achieve financial independence and help them realize their ambitions. If you're anything like me and the way I grew up, my parents basically, their advice to me in this area was, do your 401k and buy a house and you're going to be rich. Guess what? They were wrong. I mean, that's just sort of the tip of the iceberg. That's not going to get me to be financially independent by any means. And so SoFi really comes in, it's kind of the next slide here, is we really have an assortment of products that really bring your entire financial strategy into one place. And this is really exciting because, there's investment, there's, how to be smart with your credit cards. There's how do you make sure that you're getting the best insurance policies, that you're getting the best, the best of everything in terms of your trust and financial planning. How are you thinking about 529 accounts for those of you who have kids, and for the woman who said that she was pregnant, congratulations. How are you getting the best interest rate? And how do you see this in one spot to make sure that you are really, really tapping into all of the tools that really do lead to that financial independence? So we are thrilled to be able to offer this comprehensively to 4 million different members out there. Hopefully some of you on this call today are either members today or will be after this phone call or after this webinar. But that's a little bit what we offer on the digital banking and comprehensive product suite. And then we have a whole side of the house that's focused on Galileo that focuses on our enterprise side of the house. So again, we can talk about that later. But I want to talk a little bit about our values. I mentioned that we have a diversity as one of them. We actually have 11 values. And I'm not going to lie, when I first got to SoFi, I thought, wow, that's a lot of values. Sweet Jesus, that's like Dios mío for this crowd. I thought that is a lot. But the truth is that the company really does fold these into its DNA. So every month we talk about them. There's TED Talks. There's, this is ingrained in how we evaluate and how we really talk about what great looks like in our organization, how we assess talent, how we look at really sort of the behaviors of the company are all through the lens of these values. So we're truly a company that lives them. And like I mentioned, diversity being my personal favorite. So it gives you a little bit about our background and kind of what makes us tick. I want to pass it off to my dear friends who are awesome, Cassandra and Yesenia, who are the leaders of our SoFi Unidos, which is one of our amazing employee resource groups at SoFi.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ana. As she just mentioned, my name is Yesenia, and I'm joined by Cassandra, who is my co-lead over at SoFi Unidos. So just a little bit of background. We're very fortunate at SoFi to have a total of 9 employee resource groups known internally as SoFi Circles. And we're absolutely proud to highlight during Hispanic Heritage Month our employee resource group of SoFi Unidos, who have partnered alongside Latinas in Tech for this very event. So our mission at SoFi can be, in our opinion, centered around 2 really important words, which would be community and awareness. We're here for all Latinx and Hispanic employees, as well as our amazing allies, to receive resources, pertinent support, and really provide opportunities for the amplification of the Latino and Hispanic voice within our organization. And that is what we are here to do. I'm going to pass it back on over, I believe, to Juanita.
Thank you so much, Yesenia, and also to Ana. Thank you for the warm welcomes. And so with that being said, before we begin, I just want to highlight and introduce our panels here. Again, thank you so much to Ana. She is Senior Vice President of Talent Diversity here at SoFi. And also to, as mentioned, the co-lead to the SoFi Unidos, we have Cassandra Jean-Baptiste, who is a Senior Compliance Specialist of Licensing and Registration. And we also have Maria Centeno, who is the head of procurement here at SoFi, and again, Yesenia Rivera, who is the employer experience program manager here at SoFi. And before we go into our conversation, I also would just love to highlight too and extend my love and compassion to all the people who are on this call today who have family members in Mexico and Puerto Rico. I know right now it's a really hard time across the globe, so I want to just say, on behalf of Latinas in Tech and our partnership here with SoFi, we are extending our love and compassion to all of you. So warm welcomes and love to all. But with that, I would like to just begin our conversation. Thank you so much to all our members here in our panel. I would just really love to just begin and learn more about each individual's experience here at SoFi. And if you don't mind sharing your personal and professional experiences that led you to work in the tech space. So I want to direct this to Maria first to kick off our conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me as part of the event. I'm really excited to be in such a great company here. So I had a crook road to end up in tech, okay? So I do a function which is called procurement. Procurement is the function and in companies that deal with suppliers, with vendors, that does the negotiation, the contracting, and partners with finance to manage the spend of every company. Procurement is a function that you're gonna find in any kind of company, not only in tech. My background is chemical engineering. I'm a chemical engineer from my home country, Venezuela. And I came to the United States to finish or to do my MBA, my school in business administration. So after I finished that, I was recruited for a leadership rotational program. My second rotation was supply chain procurement. And that's how I fell in love with the practice, not knowing, kind of have, a mind into processes, engineering and business. I think that was a good transition, but yet I was not in tech. I was working for a company that did tangible. So I was buying raw materials, that type of stuff. During that time, I decided to look for a different job. I wasn't too happy with the company. And that's how I found my first job in tech. Well, it was with eBay back in 2006. Back in 2006, and I'm dating myself, I'm not a spring chick. We had, eBay was a Skype, PayPal, and eBay. So it was very exciting time. I moved to California. I came my first time to California to interview with eBay, the second time to move with eBay. And since then, I haven't looked back. I love, being able to do this type of practice. In the last 16 years, I have been able to specialize, my procurement practice in the tech world. So this is what I know, this is what I breathe, this is what I teach. Now I like to be a mentor. I like to be part of an organization, that nurtures, new people in the business and new practitioners in procurement that have this specialization that is so important. That's how I fell in tech. I totally love in tech. I don't code, but I can be of great help in a negotiation.
Thank you so much, Maria. I appreciate that. Anyone else would like to chime in on that conversation? I think it's also really awesome that you highlight that you're a mentor. So kudos to you for that as well.
Of course.
I'm going to popcorn Anna, if you don't mind.
All right. You get any volunteers there, did you? So I'm going to say, I don't have an exciting story. I fell into tech out of dumb luck. And mercifully, I couldn't be more grateful. I'm one of those people that graduated from college and fell into recruiting, which is something that I absolutely love. And, there was no design guide. Frankly, I didn't have a lot of the mentoring and, sort of the parental guidance that says, you got to forge a career in XYZ. My parents were really like, become a doctor or a lawyer. And I didn't do either one of those. They were like, you're kind of on your own, like there really wasn't a lot of guidance. I was working for a law firm and I would handle some of the administrative issues, and I worked with an external staffing agency. And, that particular principal said to me one day, hey, what do you do when you graduate? And I literally was like, I don't know. And she said, I knew I needed to work because I was putting myself through school. I had like 9 jobs, but I wasn't quite certain like what the next sort of chapter was for me. And she said, why don't you come work for me? And I started working for her. I loved the recruiting piece. I loved making an impact in people's lives. I loved changing the trajectory and accelerating, a company's growth. And one day, a Sybase, which for those of you guys who remember, this was a old database company that competed with Microsoft and Oracle back in the day. I'm dating myself a little bit like Maria, and they called in as a client and said, that they were looking for somebody to work in their organization as a coordinator. And I literally hung up the phone. We didn't have email back then. That's how old I am. That I literally, I went to my boss and said, I want to apply for that job. Like, I would love to work for Sybase. It was like the premier company. in the Bay Area at the time. And so, the rest is history. But I do thank my lucky stars. And now I try to bring in as many people as I can because I love it. It's progressive and I love the pace and I love the energy. I love the technology. I feel like I'm astute. I can keep up with those millennials because I know what's going on in the marketplace. So it's keeping me hip, it's keeping me young, and more importantly, it's paying some bills. So I love what I do.
That's amazing. And also I felt when you said that I worked 9 jobs. I feel like us Latinas, we find a way anyway, right, to pay off what we have to do, whether it be working nights and going to school in the mornings. Like, so kudos to you for just sharing that small little anecdote. I love that.
And I wasn't exaggerating when I said I worked 9 jobs. I really did, like at once. Like anything that came through was going to make revenue. I was interested.
She said, I got the bag for sure. She said that. Yesenia, Cassandra, anyone next want to chime in?
Yeah, I'll happily go next. Thank you so much, Juanita. I could definitely resonate with that. So I would say that I first and foremost want to acknowledge that I just celebrated my 3rd year at SoFi on September 19th. Actually, so super pumped about that. In my current position as an employee experience program manager, my work involves partnering with senior leaders like Ana, like Maria, to advocate and prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion alongside the wonderful internal employee resource groups that I had mentioned a little bit earlier. So I would definitely have to say that my passion to ensure that not only does everyone have a seat at the table, but a voice so that everyone actually feels heard and is listened to gravitated me to this current role at SoFi. Regarding my background, I have to say it's a little unconventional in work that I do now because I actually come from instructional design and corporate training. I actually worked in that space for quite a number of years, almost 6 years after I graduated with my master's, which is a huge milestone for not only myself, but my family as well, because I grew up on the south side of Chicago. So shout out to anyone joining from Chicago. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I would definitely say in an area where even having a high school diploma was not the norm, let alone even going to college. So I was absolutely raised to believe that hard work and passion coupled together is a North Star for success. So that led me a little bit to SoFi actually, and into tech itself. It was because of my background in corporate training and instructional design skill sets, I was able to make the jump from working in back office healthcare training to actual member services training for the employees who assisted our SoFi members with their actual products and their crafts, I should say, which then led me to join the people team underneath Ana. So I will happily say that making that jump was the best move I have ever made in my career. It was the best decision I've ever made professionally. So for any of you out there who may feel, a little bit overwhelmed to apply for a role that you potentially may not have all of the background, all of the training, all the qualifications, just remember that success as well as your career is not a straight shot. It's not linear. It's definitely more like a roller coaster ride. So you could definitely do it. So that I hope that made sense, but go for it. Go for the big roles. Go for it.
Thank you for the words of encouragement, and shout out to the Southside girls for sure. I know for me, being from Chicago, I love to see it. I love to hear it. So, but definitely, yes, thank you for those words of encouragement. I think it's super important to just hear women just strive, right? That's your journey to this place in life is definitely admirable. So thank you for that. And Cassandra, last but not least.
Yeah, I want to just piggyback off of what Yesenia said. I mean, your career is not ever going to be a straight line. Even if you think you know what you want to do, you're going to come across things that you love more, that you find interesting, that you never even heard of before. And that's exactly what I feel like happened to me. Like I came into SoFi almost 5 years ago now, but not this being my first tech role. And I started from like on the phones. Like I was in customer service, I was speaking to the customers, I was understanding our products. We had not as many products, nearly not as many products as we have now. And that I feel like gave me the tools and the relationships that I built just from there to realize what I really wanted to do here, how long I wanted to invest my time and energy into this role. Because when I first came to SoFi, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know that I wanted to be in tech. I didn't know that I wanted to be here for almost 5 years. I thought, like Anna said, I got to pay some bills. I'm, out on my own. My parents aren't, I'm not depending on them. What am I going to do? And I realized along the way that, I wanted to help lead people. I wanted to, I was building relationships that I absolutely loved. I was networking with people in different avenues of this business that I never even knew were a thing. And it helped me to realize and build connections between the work I was doing and my real life, because I realized, growing up, I didn't have many familial role models that taught me how to be financially independent. And so I realized I had to go and find that on my own. And I think when I look back, I probably would have hated that mindset when I was younger, but as an adult, it was exactly what I needed to push me to, be able to just do what I am doing now, which is stepping into the investment world. And it's something that I think a few years ago I would have been scared to do, or felt like, I'm not the right person to do it. And I think stepping into it has only helped me, build more confidence, learn more tools that I need to do within my own life, like, learning how to deal with stocks and bonds and things that I, scared me. And now aren't as scary anymore, because I'm taking the time to learn about them, and I'm taking the time to, like Yesenia said, I jumped into a role that other people may have said that I wasn't, I wasn't the right person for, but I did it, I got it, and I'm doing it. And I'm happy to say that I'm doing it, and happy to say that I'm learning so much in my role, and I'll continue to learn. And so moving to SoFi 5 years ago was also, yes, one of the best decisions I made. And every decision I made within the company, all the relationships I've made, all of the roles I took on that maybe, that small Latina when she was 12 maybe said, you can't do this, did it anyway. And I'm so happy and proud to say that I did it. And I think that's what is important. And I'm glad that it got me to here and with all of you, and to have this great discussion. So.
Thank you so much, Cassandra. And yes, I think that, I love how you said, I did it and I'm doing it. Like, it's so true, right? A lot of people need to remind ourselves. And I think someone in the chat said it too, is that Latinas are built to do the hard things. And I truly believe that. And I think that's a really good segue to just ask the next question, which is, to all the women here, right? Particularly those who have been speaking about, their transition into tech and how they got into tech. I'm hearing a lot about resilience, taking a leap of faith, believing in oneself, right? But I just would love to hear, like, what makes you more proud, or what makes you most proud of to be a Latina, right? I would love to hear from you, Yesenia, particularly from your experiences. Like, what makes you so proud to be a Latina?
Oh man, what a question. So being Latina for me has always been this sort of stamp of pride in my life, because of that resiliency that you mentioned, the passion, and ultimately I would even say love that has consistently and constantly been the overall foundation of how I was raised as a Latina, how I was raised as a Puerto Rican, and especially going back and forth between Chicago and La Isla, right? Going back and forth between Chicago and Puerto Rico. I was raised to be proud, to be so orgullosa of my heritage, to know not only my own familial roots, but realistically, my cultural ancestry. And being Puerto Rican means embracing the Holy Trinity, if you will, of my DNA. So that means honoring and respecting equally my indigenous Taino roots, my African roots, and my Spaniard roots, and understanding how I came to be here on this earth, and understanding the struggles that brought about the diversity of that. And it ties directly into how I view myself now, and how I view I would say, absolute personal fact that for me, being Latina is beautiful. It is complex, and it's deserving of celebration because of the amount of history and adversity that all of our Latino communities have faced and continue to face. But it's so powerful to know that we continue to rise against it. I would say and argue that it's powerful to know that I'm part of that community that doesn't shy away from adversity. So for me, being Latina means being able to face that head on. And there's strength in knowing who you are and empowering others and seeing their own strength through culture. That's what it means to me.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think we can end today's discussion after that. I think that was well said. That was just all we had to hear. I mean, right now in the chat, if you can see right now, it's just blowing up with comments, and I think you said it very, very beautifully. So thank you so much for that. But I do love how you mentioned that there is a lot of love when it comes to being Latina, which I think encompasses us in everything we do. Right? To love is to have passion. To love is to have drive. To protect. To honor, right? To respect. There's just so much behind all of that. So I definitely absolutely agree 100%. And I think this is a good segue to our second question that we have here, which is, as the topic of today's discussion is about, owning your Latinidad, it's like, what brings you into your authentic self, and what does it mean to you to own that within spaces that you're in, right? I would really love to hear from Cass's perspective when it comes to this question. What does it mean for you to be your authentic self, and most importantly, how does it tie into you being Latina?
Yeah. Loaded question, because there's so many things. Like Yesenia said, so many, and they're great. I think a major thing I learned from the woman in my life growing up is to have intent and emphasis on everything I do. And I had a lot of insecurities when I was younger. I think many people do. I don't, everybody does. And you get to a point in your life, and if you haven't, then you will eventually. But you get to a point in your life where you realize that that intent and that emphasis, that's all you need. You need to just go with everything full force, right? To have that passion, to have the respect of others and respect within yourself, to like get your point across, whether it's in a professional setting, whether it's in, your personal relationships, and communicating with meaning. And I think that that is what it means to me when I bring it to my work that I do today, when I bring it to my relationships outside of work. It's just communicating effectively and with meaning, because I feel like when I was younger, I have so many tias and titis all around me, and yelling, so everyone's talking with meaning, and no one's really, we're all just over the food, over music, over, the neighbor down all the chisme they're hearing, everything. But it's like, that's what I had to learn coming into this corporate world and this type of environment, is that, it's still important to do that. And how to do that is important, and the way you network with people. And so, bringing that is bringing my authentic self, being intentful, being impactful. And, whenever throughout my career, I come across any differences of opinion, or, other views that I maybe didn't see, I admire that, because they're also doing the same thing that I'm doing, right? They're speaking with intent, they're speaking with action. And I admire that in all of the Latinas I see, all the women I see, the men I see, everybody I see who is doing that in an impactful and respectful way. It's something that, is me, and that I see in them, and that I think we're all doing when we bring our authentic selves in. So that's what it means to me.
Thank you for sharing that. I would love to hear from anyone else from the panel. Just like, speaking to that, right? Speaking of intentionality, and particularly related to your careers in Latinidad, like how else would you say that relates to you?
I can go, definitely. I like to create a connection with people. I think that's important. And I think how Yesenia said, it really resonates with me. Being a Latina comes from a place of love. Okay, and I continue to be a student of many things in life, but one of them is how to navigate the corporate world. I have ambition. I want to go up to the corporate ladder, but I don't look like the rest. How do we advance on that? So the first instinct as a human is to mimic what you see in the places that you want to be, but we are not like that. So from that place of love, my mind says, that person looks hurt, but we're all here stiff, we don't ask questions. But the Latina hearts usually comes out of my mouth like, is everything okay? Can I do anything for you? Can I serve a cafecito? Sit down. And I may come across like motherly, and then maybe shouldn't take that role. I should take, the almighty role. But I have to say that has given me more opportunities and created more bridges with people than not. The other thing is a very important part of my role is negotiations. I have to do negotiations and sit down and represent SoFi, when I'm negotiating with other parties or any of the companies that I worked before. I like to come to negotiations when both sides win. I like to come to negotiations when you have a human connection to the other party. You never come with a good outcome of a negotiation if you are completely dry, if you don't show interest, if you don't show how genuine you are. And I think while they are distracted in the Latinidad, they're also getting the message across. Maria looks sincere. Maria is telling us the truth. And I think that's very important to come out successful in a negotiation. And 90% of time, I'm saying the truth. I bluff from here and there. It's a poker game too, but I'm saying the truth. So I think that's what I find so important of bringing yourself to work. Whatever you are. In this case, we're discussing the Latinidad, but being genuine, I think, can get you further in your career than trying to mimic something that you are not.
I really love how you just touched on that, aspect of Latinas and being Latino, right? And how we have that aspect of empathy that we just carry across all aspects of our lives, whether it be professionally or personally, because it is true, right? I see it myself too when I'm in meetings with people. My first instinct, if I notice a social cue, I'm like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Which is so relatable to anybody who's Latino, which I think is so important. But I think from your perception as being in a senior position, I love that you bring that to the table, because it definitely allows you to be connecting to people. And I just love that. And I think everybody here in the chat, like they saying, yes, being genuine is super, super important. So kudos to that. And I think also too, on the flip side of that too, and I really want to hear from Ana with this question too, is, yes, it is true that there's a lot of positive aspects of being authentic self as Latina in the workplace, but can you share with us a little bit more kind of from the opposite of that, right? Like any personal hurdles you've experienced from being your authentic self as a Latina? Because I feel like there's twofold to that, right? And being in your senior position, I feel like you probably experienced this as well.
No doubt. And I have to say that, I hope that this isn't totally reality for all of you on this call who are Latinas, but for me, certainly growing up or being a woman, even in my own household, I mean, there was a little bit of, just like my parents' aspirations for me were not as grandiose as that of my brothers. The expectations, of me, like I was never expected to go to college. I was expected to get married. I was never expected to be financially independent and to be able to take care of a household. That was the assumption, was that my spouse would, and that my brother would have that burden. And so I have to tell you that I'm a little bit conditioned, because I had to fight through a lot of those biases, even within my own community, because I am an outspoken person. I am super ambitious. I wanted to go to college so badly that I put myself through. My parents didn't support it because I was going to live outside my house without being married. And I'm not trying to make them sound like horrible people. They're lovely. I mean, their culture is so strong, and they worked so hard to unite everybody in this country together that all of a sudden, the fact that I was leaving, their nest willingly, without a real provocation, it was like incomprehensible to them. But I really chose to make those choices. And so, I had to navigate a lot of things on my own, but in a way, it's, they say who's that famous writer? Glasgow, I think his name is, who talks about sometimes, these adversities become your strengths. And I very early on knew that I had to advocate for myself, and that I couldn't shy away in a room, and that I couldn't let men speak for me, and that I had to have a point of view, and that sometimes I had to be a little bit more assertive, a little bit more forceful, because I would be quick to be dismissed, much like my household. So I was a little bit conditioned. And, my guidance to everyone on this call, whether you're Latina or not, is, as a woman, you have to aid allyship. We have to help one another. I think I saw somebody write that in the chat. 100% tenemos que hablar, for each and every one of us. But more importantly is, it's okay to be wrong. We have to take that risk. We have to speak out. And if you're wrong, that's fine. We can reinforce each other. because the odds are that you're going to be right. And God knows I've been in a million meetings where I've heard men say a lot of stupid shit and they've been wrong 1,000 times. And you know what? I think that sometimes we're very risk adverse because we feel like we need to be absolutely right every single time. The odds are that you're going to be right. And the odds are there's going to be another woman in the room who's going to be able to reinforce you and help you, and that together you're going to be able to get an idea over the line. My guidance is do not be afraid to be forceful. Do not be afraid to be assertive. Do not be afraid to be aggressive. And I think that sometimes we're told culturally that those are not great attributes. Those are the best attributes. Those are and that's what we are, right? We're this way when it comes to our children. We're fierce. It's this way when we come to, the things that we're passionate about. We're fierce, but somehow we're told to, like, you got to quell that, or you're not going to be marriage material in some way. Leave that nonsense behind and embrace who you are, embrace your passion. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, because again, odds are is that you're going to be right. And there's going to be somebody else there who's going to reinforce and help you along the way. That's my greatest piece of advice.
Well, you guys are just dropping knowledge bombs this entire chat. I really appreciate what you just shared. I think I needed to hear that personally. So thank you so much, Ana, because it's very, very true what you're talking about. It's something that culturally, as Latinas, we experience this all across the board. I know, at my 26 years of age, I'm still working through that too. But I'm very, very happy that you're on this call and you're sharing this wisdom with all of us, because it is true. We are fierce and we should not be afraid to showcase our voice, our mindset, what we have to share to the world. 100% yes, yes, yes. I see in the chat right now. Yes. Anybody else want to chime in? I think this is a very a good question that I would love to hear from all of you, right? I think in general, as we said, right, there is twofold to this aspect of being authentic to ourselves. It can be positive, but also seen negatively. And we experience both situations too. So I would love to open the floor to you ladies to speak on this if you can.
Yeah, I can go. So I'll say, just from my own experience, just kind of bringing it back on from that level. I'm going to keep it real and 100% because that's the only thing I can be. And I'll be honest, sometimes being a Latina in tech, and then if I'm going to make it even more granular, specifically in fintech where I work, where we all work, it can be sometimes like being alone in a crowded room. Because Latino professionals are traditionally noted as being an underrepresented group within the fintech industry. And even with recent trends showing that over 95% of Latinos and Hispanics in the United States are utilizing fintech products and services more so than traditional banking. Even with that out there, and we see this data coming in, we're not seeing that truly being represented within the field that we are working in. So I think, looking back, and as I've been sitting here and I've been inspired by listening to everyone, and I get to work with this amazing group of women, I could definitely say that some of the hurdles that I faced stemmed from that. It stemmed from a lack of diversification of my team members, of my leadership, and ultimately a lack of cultural awareness and wanting to lean in and understand. There's recent census data that showed that Latinos are now the second largest ethnic group in the United States. So what does that tell me? That means we're here. We are growing. We have grown. We are achieving. We're achieving. If you look at it from an educational standpoint, we're achieving secondary and tertiary degrees even at faster rates. We're thriving. We're working towards what that definition of thriving even looks like. We're redefining it. So in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before we see these systemic challenges and hurdles at play become a thing of the past. And maybe I'm leaning into optimism there, right? Because I am looking around and I'm seeing such amazing people that I get to work with, but I tend to lean into optimism more than the negativity piece. But I think, to kind of close that out, I think as Latinas, to Ana's excellent point, we are faced with a lot of external and internally induced stereotypes that we have to combat every single day, sometimes from our own loved ones. And I'll be very honest, as a dark-skinned Afro-Latina, I sometimes feel that there's even broader perceptions of what that is or looks like that can be very difficult for people to categorize even within our own community. And that ultimately is what stereotypes are. They're categorizing and putting people into boxes that make sense for us. But we're people, we're complicated. We aren't just one thing. I'm not just Latina, right? And for us to be our authentic selves, I believe we have to first do the work to know who that is, who we are, right? Like, who are we? But secondly, embrace the fact that as a Latina, we get to define what that is, not what other people tell us. We're literally in the driver's seat of our own identity. And we have the ability to bring that into a workplace setting and truly flourish and empower others to feel that, and be able to do the confident work, I would say, of what our own version of Latinidad is, not what other people are going to tell us what it is. So that's how I feel like would really drive home being genuine in the workplace. Specifically, it starts with the work that you do internally.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's so, I mean, I second to that, right? That's exactly how I felt. But it's super true, right? It begins with you, and it begins with the work you do to figure out who you are as a person, so that, you know, like Anna said, you're not pushed down when people are trying to combat you and project their own insecurities onto you or project their own beliefs onto you. It's like, or just knowing who you are and always showing empathy and compassion, even if around your room no one else knows how to do it, right? That's what it makes it to be so awesome to be Latina. I mean, honestly, maybe because I'm biased, but I always flaunt it. I don't care. It's like I wear like a badge, a tattoo. Like, I'm Latina, I'm proud, and I'm here, and I'm loud. You know what I mean? Like, it's just who it is, and I think it goes back to just, you know, knowing who you are and being confident in that, right? Being confident knowing that this is the blessing that we've been blessed with, right? And owning that, right? I just would love to hear from both Cassandra and Maria too, just, you know, on this realm of being authentic self, and also to learning about, you know, the struggles we come across as Latinas. What advice would you give women on this call when it comes to, you know, facing that adversity, right? What would you say from your own experience? How can we overcome that and also just feel proud of ourselves through that?
Absolutely, I can go. I'm gonna give me 2 seconds to become spiritual here. You know, let's preach a little bit. There is a beautiful, beautiful verse from Desmond Tutu, Anglican, but we don't tell. It's fine. You know, we love everybody. And he said in a beautiful, beautiful, I think it's something they use for Easter, hope prevails over despair. I think we should live through that. Amen. Hope prevails over despair. You're going to face calamities, different calamities. In my journey, you know, through diversity, there is a lot of intersectionality, you know, because I'm a Latina, but I'm also an immigrant, and I'm a female, and there are so many things. And actually, I think I shared with Yesenia, my first calamity in corporate America was about being a mother. Not everything. So look at all the journey that I had to do, you know, in my mid-30s, because I'm a late mother, I'm a late bloomer, that I finally got, it's like, is this guy telling me that I cannot be a VP because I cannot take care of my babies? I'm gonna kill him. So that, be prepared. You know, you never know from which flank it's gonna go, and it's gonna shock you, and it's okay for you to be shocked. But I also want to do something very dangerous. A Latina talking about a revolution. Join the revolution. Feed yourself from what is out there. Have you seen the news? There is a lot of calamities in the world. But do you see what happened with the company Patagonia? The owner of Patagonia, and Anna was in a very inspiring meeting about that. The owner of Patagonia defy the definition of that a company is made to maximize the profit of the shareholders. You know what we're saying to that? Bullshit. You can define a company, whether you operate in the frame of law and frame of regulation, to be altruistic, to see everything that, to be everything that you want. Are you seeing the news about Iran? Personally, I didn't think that would happen in our lifetime. And I'm going beyond here, you know. What's happening in Iran, it makes me so happy. It fills my heart so much. I didn't believe that was going to happen in our lifetime. In the practice, you know, and I remember having this conversation with Yesenia, the practice of diversity and inclusion a couple of years ago rubbed me in a very wrong way, because we will open every meeting about diversity and inclusion about how it's going to hit the bottom line. I found that offensive. Do you mean that I have to be nice to Anna, who's Cuban, because that's going to make me rich? It's not because I'm human. I have to be nice to Anna. So there are so many things out there. So you're going to face adversity. We're not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to go through that, but please don't isolate yourself in sadness. Open yourself and open your heart and your mind to everything that gives you strength from the outside. News like that. The world is changing. I'm a mother too. I'm having this conversation with my children, boys, and they pretty much look white. But they are really impressed, that things like what happened with the company Patagonia, what's happening in Iran, because they weren't expecting that either. And they see us, they see this relation with condescending eyes, because for them, excuse my French, we screw their country, or they screw their planet. So they are the ones that need to recover all that. So that's my advice, live through that. There is no way, there is no magic pill, there is no 2 shots of tequila. We need to navigate through that, but stay there. Hope it remains over despair, and that will make you stronger. For sure, it will make you stronger.
Remain hopeful through despair. Yes. Go ahead, Cassandra.
No, you all said amazing things. I don't really know how to follow any of those things up. I agree with all 3 of you. But I just adding on, adversity is not something to shy away from. It is required for all of us to gain character, to overcome these obstacles. It's necessary in order to build who we are meant to be, and the greatness that we are now and what we're going to be in the future. So I would just, in seconding everything that they said, that the advice I would just give is that don't shy away from it. The adversity is something we all need to have, to fear a little bit, and then overcome it and trample it and say this is amazing. And it's those struggles that again are going to build you up, and that when you get to that other side, all you have to say are good things and what more to look forward to. There's a very old saying, I'm sure everybody knows, the grass is greener where you water it, not on the other side. So, investing that water into yourself, into your community, into the relationships you build, is only going to make you better, stronger, and make the community around you better and stronger. And that's all we can do, and we need to continue to do in order to build this future that we are, and that we want to see. So, yeah.
Very important, valuable message there. Invest in yourself. You're the greatest investment of all time, right? Definitely agree to that. And I honestly, we're wrapping up our panel questions and we're going to jump into Q&A. But I just want to briefly just acknowledge you all women just being so raw and real in this conversation. I think it's very important to have these dialogues like this that are real and authentic, a pun to our title, but still, right, during this time of the year, right? I think oftentimes we forget that Hispanic Heritage Month is here for us Latinos in general to just speak up and say, like, we are here and we've been here. We're not just some token that you get to check off on a box. It's like we have created paths, created industries, created technologies, so highlight and applaud to all of the women here on this panel. And with that being said, I would love to just now turn the mic to our audience members. If you have any questions for any of our panel, please, again, use a Q&A. We're going to be directing questions there to our panel. And we have about, 10 minutes before we wrap up. So I'm going to try to get through all these questions. But the very first one that I see that I really liked actually was, they're asking from our chat, could you please tell me of one of the most frequent challenges you've been facing in your career? I know we talked about this a little bit already across all boards, but I feel like what has been some of the challenges that you frequently have seen, and how have you combated that? Have you addressed it? Do you have mentors to talk to about these situations? How do you come about that? Anybody want to answer that? I'm
happy to jump in.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that I definitely have faced, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is it's people want to dismiss women, and particularly brown women or Latinas. And, this is something that I have learned to overcome. And the way I've overcome it is really, it's actually probably 3 different ways. The first one is you've got to lead with data. So you have to really come in like extra prepared, because I know that, as a woman, particularly as a Latin woman, that I'm probably going to be questioned a little bit more. So I have to know my subject extremely well. I try, when I'm presenting something new, to really socialize it extremely well beforehand. And this is just good executive prep. And I recommend this for anybody, but you want to go into a room understanding the obstacles and understanding where people may have questions, so that, again, you could double, triple prepare and make sure that you have solutions for that. And then the third thing is I really try to build allyship. So are there a couple of advocates, men, women, other people who really believe or share my point of view? And can I bring them in to help evangelize a particular, perspective that I might have? And there's power in numbers. And, particularly if you're trying to innovate and do something that's really different, or conversely, as Yesenia mentioned, we oversee diversity, equity, inclusion at the company. And sometimes we try to roll out programs that are exclusive to those communities, and try doing that in an environment where, sometimes people say, well, why not me? Like, why not me? Because, I also can benefit from that. And it's like, yeah, you can benefit from that, but you're also benefiting from the fact that you are a dominant peer. And so I'm going to feed, this area that I believe needs care and feeding, because let me show you the data. And let me show you why. And so it's important to be able to have that point of view, be really clear about what you want. Don't be, be clear, be forceful, be assertive, but damn, be prepared. Be prepared, have your allies, socialize the crap out of it. And then, go ahead. And it's, again, I'm going to say it again, take the risk, take it, because I would rather be wrong, but then be confused. And I'm not confused about the goal. I'm not confused about the vision. I'm not confused about where my team needs to go. I'm not confused about the inspiration. And okay, I can take a misstep here, but we can correct that. Everybody takes a misstep. But what you can't correct is a shitty vision or a shitty goal. And so that is something that I have a lot of conviction around. And I tell my team, take risks, fail fast, take risk, fail fast, learn, move on. So those are the pieces that I feel really like my best piece of advice for all of you. And when I mentor people, I talk to them about that. And I hopefully, for those of you who are on my team, that you feel that I have your back, and that, if you fail fast, move on, keep innovating. So those are my big words of wisdom.
I'm not in your team, but I feel it. I count on it. I bring it
on. Maria is an awesome partner. And let me tell you, she and I have aligned many a times and gone into meetings with each other's backs. So she knows exactly what I'm talking about, because we have partnered on many different initiatives, both at Salesforce and of course here at SoFi.
That's amazing. I think just having two senior women in this call right now, speaking about that allyship, like, to me at least, that's very rare to see. And I love that you guys can both say, like, I support her and she supports me, and we both agree on a lot of things. Like, that is the importance of allyship within those like higher level positions, right? And you guys touched a little bit about mentorship, and I want to turn this question to you, Maria, and also to you if you would like to answer this too, Ana. But someone did ask about, how to seek for mentors, professional mentors as a Latina, right? How to go about that, right? Especially when you're trying to, climbing in your career, or even a predicament like Ana mentioned, where you're faced with that adversity. Like, how can you seek mentors so you can create that allyship within your organization?
I'm going to give you my humble experience, but I think, Yesenia, Ana, that are in that role, they have more insight on what we do at SoFi. But I think you need to seek mentors where there's actual chemistry, and where they are getting a benefit from you as well. I want to say, funnily enough, some of my best mentors, in life are from the West Point Military Academy of the United States. And I landed in a company where the CEOs from that academy, from the chief operating officers from that academy. So learning how they think, and how they, eventually the US Army, produces a lot of people that are in the corporate America, have served me very, very well. Mentors do not have to be like you. They don't have to be alike. I think they can what they are bringing to you is a little bit on how to navigate, any type of job or how you go about it. I like to look for mentors that are different, mentors that are in, maybe in biochemistry or mentors that are in different type of industries, because really provides a new perspective to the tech industry, which is so new. We have to acknowledge that the tech industry is so new, and in many things we have to learn, and we're trailblazing in new places. But I really want Anna, Yesenia, because you are the gurus on this thing.
I'll just quickly add to what Maria said. And my biggest pieces of advice on mentorship is really two or three things. First one is find a critic. Don't find a mentor who thinks you're wonderful, right? Because you can just call me for that. I'll tell you how wonderful you are. You can call your mom. Hopefully your mom thinks you're lovely. Find a critic. Find somebody who's going to give it to you hard and give it to you straight. Then the second thing is, assuming that you trust this critic, is be very vulnerable. Like, you can't go in and tell them how you got it all figured out and it's really this organization that's effed up, right? You got to go in and be like, listen, I think I'm contributing to this dynamic. Like, this has happened to me at other companies. Like, I keep hitting this wall. Like, tell me honestly, like, what do you think it is that I'm doing? Like, what can I do different? You've got to be vulnerable. You've got to talk about your shortcomings because you know them. And you can't, it's like going to the doctor and saying, am I sick? Am I not sick? But I'm not going to take any tests. They're not magicians. And your mentor can only help you if you are, I used to have, my grandfather was like that. He'd like, if I had to tell the doctor what's wrong with me, then what do I need to go to the doctor for? And I'm like, oh my God, you got to give him something. Oh my God. So, it's the same thing. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be like, listen, this is happening to me. And I think I might be what am I doing? And then you got to be willing to really listen, because otherwise the mentorship isn't going to work. If you just need somebody to blow hot air up your ass, again, call your mom. But if you want somebody who's going to be if you really want to get better, you got to go in and be like, all right, I want to get better. Like this is what I think I'm doing. And then that person could really guide you.
Yesenia, if you want to add to that.
How can I? That was perfectly stated. No further commentary. I would also, I guess the only thing I would add is, if you're lucky enough, really try to pursue someone that also believes in sponsoring you. There's a difference between a mentor and a sponsor and what that looks like. So with a sponsor, it's someone who is going to go into a meeting and advocate for you, right? Or a role comes up and they're like, I know who's good for that job. Cass is amazing for that job. I'm going to make sure to bumper or make sure that she knows about this, right? Having the ability to have someone that also advocates for you in that role as well is crucial. But I will say it's not always a guarantee. So just always be on the lookout for that.
I'm really happy you mentioned that, because that is very true, right? I think for everybody in the chat who asked about mentorship, these are all really genuinely great tips. Definitely take notes, but definitely remember that there's a difference between sponsorship and mentorship. So thank you for that. I know we're almost wrapping. I do want to ask just one final question that we have here, and that's just related to kind of just more technical within SoFi. And I know that we talked a lot about more high level stuff, but someone did ask, what is the best approach to go about either applying for a role within SoFi, particularly apprenticeship program within SoFi or mentorship program within SoFi? How can we get more involved, right, with what you're doing here at your organization?
I swear I did not plant this question. But I'm so glad, and whoever is asking it, I'm going to send you flowers. So thank you. Please go online, go to our awesome career site, which, by the way, we also have an amazing DE&I site where we publish all of our stats as well as our goals, because this really is our value. But please, go to our site, and our jobs are there. Or feel free to send me personally your resume, your email, your interest, and I promise that I will advocate it. It's Recio, RECIO @sofi.org, ORG. So please, we love it. And again, if we don't have the role for you now, I promise you I have a great team of awesome recruiters who are on this call, as well as sourcers. We'll cultivate your background. We'll make sure we give you a call when the right role opens up. Bless you, whoever sent that out.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And also in the chat, someone did share the link to the careers website for SoFi. So
awesome.
Feel free to go ahead and click on that. But yeah, most definitely, thank you so much for just an amazing hour of just so much knowledge bombs. In my mind, I have all these notes, so just thank you so much for all the inspiration today. I genuinely needed that. But again, ladies, please feel free to take notes in the chat of all the information that was shared. If you're sharing in their emails, if you're sharing it within their LinkedIn profiles, whatever that is, go ahead and grab all that information. But just thank you to all the ladies. Anybody want to make any final remarks before we close? Okay, I think we've said enough today, so I think we're in a good spot. But thank you so much to all of you women. Thank you so much. And again, feel free to take note of all the things in the chat that has been shared. I'll leave it about for 2 more minutes open so you guys can accumulate all that information. But just thank you so much, you ladies.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone. It's been
Bye.
great.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.